that was the final thing on that. I mean, that's.
Well, okay, so let's talk a little bit about your emceeing of many, many concerts, including Yankee Stadium. Uh, what are some of the other events that you recall emceeing, introducing
I don't
major
remember
acts?
each and every event, but I will tell you that I did MC every major venue in New York. Madison Square Garden, Radio City, um, Avery Fisher Hall, Carnegie Hall. What else is there? What other major thing besides all the clubs?
Central Park.
Well, all those.
Yeah.
Well, what happened was is after uh, this is another thing. Again, the American or let's call it Main Street media. We're Americans. I mean, the Main Street media. They found me to be an interesting character, and so because I was a nutcase and I was also very articulate and it's one thing being a musician and there's somebody else that's just talking. Okay, I mean just like Felipe Luciano became famous for being, the young lords and political and taking over, you know, buildings or whatever the heck it was. So I was doing this on a cultural level with the music and the arts. Okay, uh, so when the film Art Latin thing came out, uh, again, like the post featured a picture of me. Variety mentioned me. Now that, by the way, pissed off a lot of the top stars because why was I getting so much attention?
Mm,
He's just the MC. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So, but as a consequence of that, uh, and people now throughout South America, Puerto Rico, South America, and other parts, they started to see me with the Fighting All Stars, and Jerry Masucci, because I had the magazine. Jerry was no dummy. He realized the power of the press and the influence that we had. Um, so I traveled around the world with the Fighting All Stars. At that time, also, I was not only designing posters, but I was also producing the radio commercials and doing the voiceovers
Hmm.
and getting other people involved. I remember there was one woman from Spanish radio that I made do for the women's lip dance. I had her do the young girl and then like her mother's voice or an older woman. And she was thrilled because nobody had ever asked her to do that. And she says, "Oh my God, I've never done that." Because I got her to say, "Mira, es fácil. Tienes que hablar así cuando eres joven y cuando eres vieja. Bueno, mija, tú tienes que entender que," so that kind of thing. So she loved this. So I used to do all that. So as a consequence, I was also the MC. So I was everything. So there's a lot of people who knew Izzy Sanabria, the MC, but they didn't know that it was the same person that was designing album covers and doing posters. So, and one of the reasons is because an artist or a writer creates his art in solitude, and he may have accolades later or rejection. When you so very rarely is that personality also extroverted like I am, and willing to take the chances that I took on stage. I mean, it's one thing being one of 10 musicians. It's another standing alone on a stage and trying to capture that audience attention, or. And I've been booed, and I used to get over it and make fun of it. So it's developing a persona and developing the courage to go up there and take the chance to be booed, to be accepted, which most people are not willing to do.
Um, yeah, I agree 100%. I agree 100% because I'm mostly a sideman and I can relax pretty much in the background. And I know occasionally, well, I do have my own band,
Yeah.
and when I'm in front talking, that takes a lot of cojones to do that. It's not an easy thing to do. And I'm basically just talking about the music and the members of the band, whereas you would create your own, whether it be a speech or a skit or whatever you were talking about. It's not easy,
Yeah,
definitely.
well, I think I got a lot of my confidence in that from doing stand-up comedy. at one point in my life, I really should have stood with that. I helped Freddie Prinze get started. But
Wow.
the magazine got me so involved that I even stopped being funny because my editorials were serious. So I stopped, being, being funny. But the thing is, look, and this is something that they're doing a documentary on my life, so I got to be very careful. I mean, what I say now, but I don't know if I said this in the documentary, but let me just tell young people one of the main messages that I give. I think we've said enough today, but I want to just say this. In the presentations that I did, like for example in Argentina, which is about graphic arts, so the concept that I brought out is the same as show business or anything else. And here it is. As a graphic artist, we're visual communicators. As visual communicators, our job is to grab the attention of the public. Now, I used to try and tell the musicians, at that time, you hear an interesting sound and you look toward the stage. If there's nothing interesting going on, you're going to look away. If there's something interesting going on, you're going to keep looking. If what you are presenting, the words, the lyrics, are getting to the mind, now you got the person by the mind and by the ears and by the eyes. And so you got those three things. So some people had the sound, but they weren't really saying anything. And that's why Ruben Blades made such an impact around the world, because his lyrics, first of all, penetrated South America. He was a very bright guy, so he knew exactly what he was doing, So it wasn't just that he was writing from the heart, he was writing from the mind, because I know Ruben, So it's not like he's a soulful singer. A soulful singer is Hector Lavoe, who sang with, he seemed to be happy, but he had this hurt that, say, un hombre que pasó mucha tragedia, he was bien sufrido. So it's difficult to try, but you got to go out there and fall a whole bunch of times. My career in this business, I was dealing with people that had no concept of advertising, of marketing, packaging. Everything with me was an uphill battle, fighting for every concept, every new concept that I came up with. So, and for the last thing that we should be saying is Izzy, what are you doing today?
No, actually, I have, before we do that, just briefly talk about how you came up with the concept of Latin New York, and how long did that magazine last?
The first one to come up with the concept of Latin New York was Peter Rios in '68. He put out, I think, about 8 issues. And I used my art studio to produce it from. So by the time '73 rolled around, I just felt that we were ready to bring it out again. Except that I capitalized on all the mistakes that Peter Rios may have made. I mean, he was English, and he had it on the newsstand, but he didn't have what I had. I had a built-in audience because I was the MC at the Cheetah, and so I had a built-in crowd to build on. I was already doing posters, and so I knew the promoters, I knew the record company, so I had all of that, which was very useful, and access to radio, and so that helped me greatly.
And so when
It
you
went
came
from
out,
73 to 85.
85, wow, amazing. But one of the things we were talking about is possibly working on a way to put those old issues of Latin New York online and make them downloadable for all of you people who either were around back then and would like to reminisce and see some of those.
It's a very, very big job. You need you need funding. I'm tired, and it's very difficult for me to go back and start actually scanning. I mean, the ideal thing would be for me to scan and then convert the text through an OCR program, so that it becomes, for example, it becomes a database in which if you type in the name Hector Lavoe, then every issue that he's been in.
Yeah.
You would
Well,
see.
that's a major
Yeah.
that's a major
Yeah.
undertaking, and um, honestly, I don't see that happening right now. But what I spoke to you briefly about is I have a friend who actually did scan them. They're not uh, grade A quality scans, but still they are scanned, and for the most part you
How
could.
many issues?
Uh,
Complete
I
with
have
the
to.
ads?
Yeah, it's like yeah. How many issues? I'm gonna have to go back and count them, but I would say it's got to be at least 70 to 80% of
Well, he
of
had that many, really?
yeah.
No, we'll talk later
Yeah,
about that.
we'll talk later,
But
but that's something for you
yeah,
guys to stay tuned.
yeah.
It's not going to be free. Not going to be free. You're going to have to pay for it. But maybe if we get that going, then we can do it properly, like you were saying, with the OCR and so that everything is searchable. With
Well, let's see. Now, I'd like to leave you with this: my availability. Uh, I do presentations for as little as 10 people in apartments that I can get around in locally, or thousands like I did in Argentina. Uh, so I make personal appearances. I do a multimedia presentation, whether it's on the arts or on the whole salsa explosion. So I dance on stage. I tell jokes. I have slides and video, and I make it as exciting as possible, and people love it so far. Anyway, and the other thing is, I appeal through my website, salsamagazine.com, and through any other medium I can, to coleccionistas, collectors. Now, here's the importance of collectors of some of this vintage material that I have, such as the posters and DVDs. Each collector who is collecting stuff from that era, items, the music, you become a satellite museum. You become a mini museum of information that you can pass on to your family, and especially the children of the family, so that they can understand what it is that we did and where we come from. Oh, see? Because, for example, some of us older ones, guys, our parents can't give us that. Maybe you have old photographs, but do they have DVDs? Do they have posters? Do they have things that show the excitement of what we lived through?
now DVDs of what specifically are you referring
I
to?
have. If they email me, I send them lists of different DVD performances and things that are not available in stores necessarily.
You mentioned you have a lot of photographs too. Well,
Oh, I have the world's largest archives of photographs, and so this is how I now make a living. Also, articles that are written, books that are written, documentaries, films. Right now, Spanish Broadcasting Systems is putting out apps for the phone, and so I'm selling them photographs because I have the world's largest collection of photographs of salsa stars, and from the 60s into the 80s.
wow.
So, by the way, here's something else that's kind of interesting about Latin New York. Before Latin New York started, the photographs of artists, musicians were all, pose shots, just like you see on Facebook now, taking a selfie, So Latin New York came along, and all of a sudden now we have action shots of people performing on stage, because necessity is the mother of invention, So what happened is now all the, artists, young artists, cartoonists, photographers came out of the woodwork and gravitated to Latin New York. So it's fortunate that Latin New York is so rich in the writing and the art and all of that. It wasn't on better paper, unfortunately, but it was cheap enough. That's why we were able to keep it going. But the people that I attracted were the creators, the artists. I was not able to attract real business people.
It's a shame, but considering all that, I think you definitely what you did was there was nothing like it. at all. You know?
No, and still isn't.
Still isn't. Yeah.
Some of the slickest Latino magazines, like Latina, there are no cartoons that reflect the audience.
Mhm.
And so we were getting cartoonists that, that reflected, our lifestyles.
Really, really amazing stuff, Izzy.
Thank you for the opportunity
Thank you.
to talk to your audience.
My pleasure.
You're doing
Wow.
a fine job, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Izzy, for those people who didn't know, now you know the roles, plural, that Izzy played in this music. It's pretty amazing, and I'm honored to have had the opportunity to listen and learn from Izzy, even though I know him since like 1973.
No, before that. I knew you when you were just starting as a musician, as a kid.
Amazing.
With a kiddie band that turned out to be Seguida,
Yeah.
a Latin rock band,
That's right.
and became my house band for my TV show.
And we won a Latin New York Music Award for the best Latin rock band back in the day. 1975, right?
Yeah.
At the Beacon Theater. History, folks. Izzy, thanks again, man. I really appreciate it. Salsa Legends and Masters Academy, Pete Nader, Izzy Sanabria, living legend.
I don't know for how long.
Hopefully for many, many years to come.